Hi everyone, welcome to the community classroom. This is our third part in the community law school series, and we are focusing on the issue of jurisdiction today. And what we're going to be covering is the definition of jurisdiction, the types of jurisdiction, limits and ranges, and we're going to focus at the end on the issue of federal jurisdiction versus state jurisdiction. And before we get started, we're going to address the focus of the community law school series in general, because there seems to be some sort of confusion about what the focus is supposed to be in terms of this series. And before we get started, let's address the issue of the focus of the community law school series. The focus of the community law school series, as indicated, is on American U.S. law. This is not a class focusing on ecclesiastical law, regardless of whether you're talking about one religion or another. So our focus in this particular series is on American U.S. law and providing some practical basic information that people may need in terms of understanding the legal system that we are working in here in America. So if someone also needs to get information regarding another legal system outside of the United States, then this series is not going to cover that. And the individual didn't indicate their religion. However, there is probably a channel somewhere on YouTube. There's so much content out there. There's probably a channel on YouTube that will address whatever it is that this individual is looking for. And if that's something that other people are looking for, I'm sure you can find a channel that will address that for you. Now let's address this issue of jurisdiction. Some people are probably asking, what on earth is jurisdiction? Remember from the previous video, whenever you hear that word juris, jur, we're talking about something related to the law. And so we're going to look at what is jurisdiction and who has it. And please remember, if you have some personal questions about jurisdiction, you are encouraged to contact your personal attorney so that you can get those answers regarding your specific situation. An easy way to think about jurisdiction is the word power. And so jurisdiction is about a legal entity's power over a particular situation, over parties, particular people, over property, over issues and rights. And so that's the main word to think about when you think about jurisdiction. It's really about power, power to decide. Now, there are four types of jurisdiction to be concerned with. And again, if you have some questions about this issue of jurisdiction, you are encouraged to seek the counsel of your personal attorney. And so let's cover these four areas of jurisdiction. The first one is subject matter jurisdiction, and this is basically the court's power or the legal entity's power over a particular subject matter. And so, for instance, the family court has the jurisdiction over the subject matter of divorce or child custody. Another type of jurisdiction is in personam jurisdiction. That's a fancy way for saying power over the individuals in the case. And so that would be the court's power and control over the parties, and it's another way of saying personal jurisdiction. Another type of jurisdiction is over property, and that property can be real property or personal property. Personal property is property that you can walk around with. You can pick it up, take it from one place to another. An umbrella would be personal property. A ball would be personal property. And of course, real property is real estate. And so the fancy phrase for that is in rem jurisdiction. So you have in personam jurisdiction, you have in rem jurisdiction. The fourth type of jurisdiction is quasi in rem, and this type of jurisdiction is the legal entity's power and control in terms of decision making regarding the issues and rights related to the property. And so the individual may not actually be residing in the state where the property is, but the court where the property is generally may have power to make a determination about the issues and rights related to the property that's located in that jurisdiction, even though the parties are not located there. So for instance, if a person lives in Arkansas and they have some property interests and rights in question that are in Texas, then the courts in Texas would have that quasi in rem jurisdiction and likely in rem jurisdiction in terms of the actual property, even though they may not have jurisdiction over the individuals. And there are limits and ranges to jurisdiction that are important to consider. And three issues that should be considered are the issues of original jurisdiction, exclusive jurisdiction, and concurrent jurisdiction. And you often hear about jurisdiction limits and ranges in cases that are in the media. And so we're going to cover these three limits and ranges. And the first one is the issue of original jurisdiction. And original jurisdiction is just basically a legal entity, primarily a court, that court having the first right to hear a matter, to make a decision on a matter. For instance, we were talking about family court. In family court, the family court has original jurisdiction for certain family court matters. And so those would be things like divorce and child custody. Now, juvenile law, again, is a little mixed up there. So it's possible for a family court to have original jurisdiction, and in some instances, the criminal court, the adult criminal court system, may also have a concurrent jurisdiction. And so we're not going to go into all of the details with that now, but it is possible in juvenile cases for there to be multiple situations where you have multiple types of jurisdiction in terms of adult criminal and juvenile court. All right, and so then you have this issue of exclusive jurisdiction, and exclusive jurisdiction is exactly what it sounds like. It means that the judicial body or the legal entity has exclusive jurisdiction. That means they have exclusive power that's exclusive to other tribunals. That means that they have the exclusive right to make a decision about certain issues. Another type of jurisdiction in terms of limits and ranges is concurrent jurisdiction, and this is the one that people hear about the most. And concurrent jurisdiction is where multiple tribunals have the authority to address a particular subject matter or particular parties. And so this happens in many instances. Again, when you hear about this in the media, it's usually with criminal cases. And so you'll hear about a situation where there is an allegation that a person has violated state law, state criminal law, and also federal statutes. And when that happens, a person can actually be tried in both state court and federal court. And in our overview yesterday, we touched on the issue of federal jurisdiction when we looked at federal courts. And so let's quickly go over how federal jurisdiction is acquired. The first way is violation of federal law. So if an individual violates federal law, they automatically come under federal jurisdiction. If a person commits a crime on federal property, again, they automatically come under federal jurisdiction. Also, if a matter involves constitutional or federal issues, actual constitutional issues or federal codes, federal laws, then that generally comes under federal jurisdiction. And another way to acquire federal jurisdiction is the thing that we talked about yesterday, which is diversity of citizenship. And so if you have entities that are from two states, different states, and they have an amount in controversy that is over $75,000, that's the jurisdictional amount for federal court, then they can go into federal court with that matter. Now, again, certain issues involve concurrent jurisdiction, and so again, you would want to speak with your personal attorney about that, because there are some issues that fall under state jurisdiction and federal jurisdiction simultaneously. Remember, knowledge is power. Take care and see you soon.